When the cinema caught fire, my husband and I were both reborn. The first thing he did after being reborn was to let go of my hand and rush to save his childhood sweetheart. I watched his retreating back and let out a sigh of relief. This time, I no longer had to be involved with him. I no longer had to bear his resentment for losing his childhood sweetheart because he saved me. I no longer had to be mentally abused by his entire family and treated like a freeloader. I suddenly opened my eyes, and the pungent smell of smoke instantly filled my nostrils. All around me were screams, and in front of me, a panicked crowd was fleeing. The cinema is on fire. This scene is too familiar. 10 years ago, I experienced the exact same scene. No, to be precise, it was in my previous life. I had been reborn. My right hand was tightly gripped, and I turned to see Peiji's face, 10 years younger. His brows were furrowed, and he pulled me towards the exit. Memories flooded back like a tide in my previous life. It was in this fire that Peiji pulled me to safety, while his childhood sweetheart Yume couldn't escape because she was too far back. Later, he accused me of causing Yume's death, forced me to marry him as atonement, and made me live a life worse than death for 10 years. Xiaoyan, let's go. Peiji tugged at me. Just then, I clearly saw a change in his eyes, as if he had suddenly remembered something. His gaze swept past me, looking towards the back seats, his expression shifting from anxiety to shock, and then to elation. He let go of my hand. Yume, he shouted, turning without hesitation and rushing against the flow of people towards the back. I stood there, watching his back disappear into the thick smoke, and suddenly smiled. In this life, he finally made a different choice. I took a deep breath, turned, and easily followed the crowd out of the cinema. Standing in the safe zone, I looked at the building billowing with smoke, a sense of peace washing over me. In my previous life, I carried 10 years of guilt because Peiji dragged me out. He said that if he hadn't been saving me, he could have saved Yume, married her, and lived a happy life. He tormented me with this reason for a full 10 years, and now, he finally had the chance to save his Yume. The siren of the fire truck grew louder as it approached. I adjusted my coat, ready to leave. Just then, a commotion erupted at the exit. Make way. Someone's injured. I turned my head and saw two men carrying out a blood-covered person. The person's face was disfigured by burns on one side, and their back was charred black, but it was still recognizable as Peiji. Next, a girl in a white dress ran out by herself, unharmed except for her slightly disheveled hair. It was Yume. Hurry, call an ambulance. He was hit by a beam, someone shouted. I stood there, watching the farce unfold with cold indifference. The paramedics arrived quickly and carried Peiji onto a stretcher. Yume stood to the side, her face pale, but she didn't step forward. Aren't you going with them? I couldn't help but ask. Yume glanced at me, her eyes complex. I don't know him well. Her words stunned me. Don't know him well. In the previous life, didn't Peiji say they were childhood sweethearts who grew up together? The ambulance sped away. I watched in the direction it disappeared, my heart unmoved. In my previous life, guilt tormented me to the point where death seemed preferable. In this life, he finally paid the price for his choices, a spinal injury and half my face disfigured. That's far less severe than my breast cancer. I turned and left, my steps lighter than ever before. 2-3 days later, I received a call from Peiji's mother. Xiaoyan, is that you? My son was injured saving you. How can you be so indifferent? Pei's mother's voice was sharp and piercing. Just like in my previous life, I let out a cold laugh. Auntie, you're mistaken. Your son was injured saving Yume. He let go of my hand at the time. Nonsense. Xiaoji said he was going to save you, but then he saw Yume in danger. Pei's mother's voice suddenly stopped, as if she realized she had said too much. I gripped my phone, my knuckles turning white. As expected, even if I got a second chance, they still wanted to pin this on me. Auntie, the cinema has surveillance cameras. Would you like me to retrieve them for you? I said calmly. Your son voluntarily let go of my hand to save Yume. That's a fact. He and I are not related, and I have no obligation to take care of him. You ungrateful wretch. Pei's mother began to have hysterics. My son is lying in the hospital now, with a spinal injury and his face disfigured. He might never be able to stand up again. It's all because of you. I took a deep breath, memories from my previous life flooding back like a tide. In 10 years of marriage, I had heard these words countless times, each one like a knife twisting in my heart. But in this life, I would no longer be at their mercy. Auntie, I interrupted her rant. Your son is an adult. He made his own choice. If he regrets it, that's his own business. He and I have nothing to do with each other, so please stop harassing me. With that, I hung up the phone and blocked the number. No sooner had I put down my phone than it rang again. It was an unknown number. Hello, I answered cautiously. Is this Xia Yin? I'm Pei Lin, Pei Ji's sister. A young girl's voice said, my brother wants to see you. He's at the city hospital. Sorry, I'm busy. I refused flatly. How can you be like this? My brother was trying to save you. He was trying to save you, May, I corrected. And you May got out on her own, unharmed. Your brother's heroic rescue attempt failed and he got himself into trouble. What does that have to do with me? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line, then Pei Lin's voice turned venomous. Do you think you can escape? My brother said if it weren't for saving you, he could have saved you, May. You owe our family, and you'll never be able to repay it in this lifetime. I laughed, tears streaming down my face. What familiar words, exactly the same as in my previous life. Pei Lin, tell your brother. I wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes, my voice icy cold, that in this life, Xia Yin, owe no one, especially not your Pei family. After hanging up the phone, I opened my computer and started searching for housing information. In my previous life, I gave all my savings to the Pei family, even selling my parents' house to them for a bigger one. This time, I want to buy a small nest for myself first. After looking at houses for an afternoon, I chose a newly opened residential area in the east of the city. The price here is not high now, but it will triple in 5 years due to the opening of the subway. I checked my balance with mobile banking. It wasn't much, but it was enough for a down payment. Just as I was about to close the webpage, a news push popped up. Hero injured in cinema fire. Medical expenses critical. I clicked on it and saw a photo of Pei Ji lying on a hospital bed, with half of his face bandaged. He looked quite miserable. The article mentioned that he needed multiple surgeries and his family was unable to bear the high medical expenses, calling for public donations. The comment section was full of emotion. A true hero. He risked his own safety to save others. Hope the good man recovers soon. I sneered and closed the webpage. In my previous life, I was also one of the moved bystanders, and then I was morally blackmailed for a lifetime. This time, I won't donate a single cent. A week later, I moved into my new home. Although it was only 60 square meters, it had excellent natural light and a cozy renovation. I used my savings to buy simple furniture, and standing on the balcony watching the sunset, I felt an unprecedented sense of relief. My phone rang again. This time it was you, May. I hesitated for a moment, but then answered. In my previous life, I had never met this girl. She only existed in the words of Pei Ji's entire family, portrayed as a flawless goddess to highlight my own shortcomings. Xia Yin, can we meet? Yu Mei's voice was soft, tinged with a hint of unease. What is it? I asked cautiously. About Pei Ji. There are some things I want to tell you in person. We arranged to meet at a coffee shop in the city center. Yu Mei was more ordinary than I had imagined. Pretty but not stunning, a far cry from the fairy descended to earth description Pei Ji had given. First, I want to apologize. Yu Mei stirred her coffee, not daring to look at me. Pei Ji's family has been harassing you, saying that Pei Ji was injured saving you. It's all a lie. I raised an eyebrow. I know. The surveillance footage was very clear. Yu Mei gave a wry smile. Pei Ji and I are not at all the kind of relationship they described. We were just elementary school classmates. And I'm not familiar with him at all. Wait, I interrupted her. Weren't you childhood sweethearts? Childhood sweethearts? What are you talking about? Yu Mei showed a look of disgust. We haven't been in touch since we graduated from elementary school. I looked at her in shock, almost dropping my coffee cup. In my previous life, the Yu Mei that Pei Ji spoke of was the love of his life. If it weren't for saving me, they would have been married with children long ago. When the fire broke out, he did try to pull me away, but I shook him off. Yu Mei continued. Later, a beam fell, and he didn't dodge it himself. It had nothing to do with me. As I processed this information, a terrifying realization struck me. In my previous life, I might have been held captive by a complete lie for my entire existence. Why are you telling me this? I asked Yu Mei. She sighed. I saw the reports online. They're portraying Pei Ji as a hero and morally blackmailing you. I feel like you've been terribly wronged. As I left the cafe, Yu Mei handed me a USB drive. This is the complete surveillance footage from the cinema. You might find it useful. Back home, I inserted the USB drive. The footage clearly showed that during the fire, Pei Ji had indeed grabbed my hand first, then suddenly let go and turned to rush towards Yu Mei. Yu Mei was clearly resisting his pull and eventually ran out on her own, while Pei Ji was hit by a falling beam. I saved the video, a plan already forming in my mind. The next day, I went to the hospital not to see Pei Ji, but to apply for a job. In my previous life, I took care of Pei Ji's father here until he passed away. so I am very familiar with the hospital. Director Wang from the Human Resources Department recognized me. Aren't you the one who used to come and take care of Mr. Pei? You've mistaken me for someone else. I smiled and handed over my resume. I'm here to apply for a design position. With the work experience I accumulated in my previous life, I successfully received an offer. As I walked out of the hospital gate, I glanced back at the tall building of the inpatient department. Pei was in a ward on one of the floors, and in this life, I would never set foot in that place again. In the evening, I logged into my social media account, which I hadn't used in a long time, and posted an update. To clarify, Mr. Pei letting go of my hand to save another lady during the cinema fire was his personal choice and has nothing to do with me. I have complete surveillance footage as proof. Please, Mr. Pei's family, stop spreading false information, or I will pursue legal action. The accompanying image was a screenshot of the surveillance footage and Yume's statement. After sending that, I let out a long sigh of relief. As if shedding a burden of 10 years, my phone immediately started vibrating wildly. Pei's sister, mother, and aunt took turns calling to scold me. I rejected all calls and only sent one text message. If you harass me again, I'll release the full surveillance footage. The world finally fell silent. For a month later, I had established myself at my new company. Using my experience from my previous life, I completed several important projects ahead of schedule and earned the appreciation of my superiors. During lunch break, my colleague Xiao Lin leaned in mysteriously. Xia Yan, did you see today's headlines? The hero of that cinema fire has been exposed. I took her phone, and on the screen was a widely circulated article. Hero's image crumbles. Unveiling Pei's multifaceted life. The article detailed Pei's past misdeeds. He was disciplined for cheating in college, repeatedly harassed female colleagues after starting work, and there was even a video of him assaulting someone while drunk. Most damningly, someone anonymously provided complete surveillance footage from the day of the fire, proving that his so-called rescue was entirely staged. The comment section exploded. So he's just a scumbag. Wasted my sympathy. Those who cursed that girl before should come out and apologize. I calmly closed the page and returned the phone to Xiao Lin. This article was submitted anonymously by me, and the material came from the dirt I dug up on Pei in my previous life. At the time, I endured it all to maintain our marriage, but now it has finally come in handy. People like that are disgusting, Xiao Lin said indignantly. I heard the hospital is unwilling to treat him now and he's been transferred to a small hospital in the suburbs. I stirred my coffee, not responding. In my previous life, I knelt and begged doctors to treat Pei's father, even selling blood to raise money. In this life, the Pei family's retribution has only just begun. After work, I went to the law firm. I was received by a female lawyer surnamed Chen, who was capable and shrewd. Miss Xia, based on the evidence you've provided, the Pei family has committed defamation and harassment, Lawyer Chen said, pushing up her glasses. Do you wish to sue them? No, not for now. I shook my head. I just want them to sign a statement admitting that all the false statements about me were rumors and to promise not to harass me anymore. That's simple, Lawyer Chen smiled. Given their current public image, they'd be desperate to settle this matter. 3 days later, under Lawyer Chen's witness, I met Mrs. Pei. In just 1 month, this once arrogant woman looked like she had aged 10 years. Her eye bags drooped to her cheekbones, and half her hair had turned white. You bitch, she cursed as soon as she saw me. My son is dying. Are you happy now? Lawyer Chen immediately stopped her. Ms. Pei, please mind your language. If you continue to insult my client, we will file additional charges. Mrs. Pei slumped into the chair like a deflated ball. She tremblingly signed the statement and glared at me fiercely as she left. Xia Yan, you will get what's coming to you. I put away the documents and smiled slightly. Auntie, retribution has already begun. It's just that it's yours. After leaving the law firm, I went to the bank. In my previous life, I gave all my savings to the Pei family. In this life, I want to plan my finances well. The wealth manager heard that I wanted to invest in real estate and recommended several high-end properties. I shook my head and pointed to an inconspicuous old residential area on the map. Here, I want the entire floor. There, the manager looked incredulous. That's a notorious slum with poor security. That's precisely why the price is low, I said confidently. Once the subway plan is announced next year, this will be a prime location. After completing the loan procedures, I walked home in a good mood. In my previous life, I was so frugal that I wouldn't even take the bus to save money for Pei's sister's tuition. In this life, I will spend every penny on myself. My phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment. but answered it. Is this Xia Yan? A deep male voice asked. This is Ji Chen, a doctor at the municipal hospital. We have met before. I was stunned. Ji Chen, that name was so familiar. He was my attending physician when I was diagnosed with breast cancer in my previous life. During my most painful times, he secretly waived my medical fees and often chatted with me. Dr. G, my voice trembled slightly. How did you get my number? I got it from the hospital's HR department. He paused. I saw the statement you posted. Are you okay? This simple greeting made my nose sting. In my previous life, at the end of my life, this stranger was the only one who had shown me warmth. I'm fine. I took a deep breath. Thank you for your concern. Pei Ji is currently in my ward. Ji Chen's voice suddenly became serious. His condition is not good, with recurring infections, and he might need an amputation. His family said, you are the reason he's like this. I let out a cold laugh. Dr. G, you've seen the surveillance footage. Who harmed whom? Of course, I believe you, Ji Chen said quickly. I just wanted to remind you that their family might take extreme actions. Be careful. After hanging up the phone, I stood by the roadside in a daze. Ji Chen's concern reminded me of the warmth I felt at the end of my life in my previous existence, but it also brought more questions. Why would he specifically call to remind me? 5 On Monday morning, I walked into the city hospital lobby with design blueprints. My company had taken on the redesign project for the hospital's brochure, and I was assigned to liaise with the hospital administration. The smell of disinfectant instantly brought back memories of my past life, the days of pushing wheelchairs through the corridors, the days of kneeling before doctors and begging, the days of hiding in stairwells and crying silently. Miss Xia, Nurse Zhang from the administrative department recognized me. You're here to see Director Li, right? He has a last-minute meeting, so let me take you to a conference room to wait. I nodded and followed her towards the elevator. Just as the elevator doors were about to close, a slender hand suddenly reached in. Excuse me. A familiar voice said. My breath hitched. Ji Chen, in his white coat, stood at the elevator entrance, his name tag gleaming under the lights. The moment our eyes met, his widened slightly. Xia Yan, his voice held a note of uncertainty. Nurse Zhang looked at us curiously. Dr. G knows Miss Xia. Ji Chen stepped into the elevator. Standing beside me, he carried a faint scent of disinfectant, mingled with a crisp hint of citrus. The same aroma as in my past life. It made me momentarily drift back to the bedside, to the gentle way he bent over to examine my wounds. We have met before, Ji Chen answered vaguely. The elevator ascended slowly, the small space filled only with the hum of machinery. I could feel Ji Chen's gaze occasionally fall upon me, as if he wanted to speak but hesitated. Dr. G, have you been busy lately? I broke the silence. Reasonably so. He paused. Except for one particularly troublesome patient. I knew who he was referring to. Nurse Zhang had gotten off on the 5th floor, leaving just the two of us in the elevator. How is he? I heard myself ask. Ji Chen turned to face me, his brow furrowed slightly. Do you really want to know? The elevator stopped on the 7th floor, the doors opened and closed, and no one entered. His right leg is severely infected. We'll have to amputate it tomorrow, Ji Chen said calmly. He's been calling your name. I clenched the folder in my hand, my knuckles turning white. He deserves it. Ji Chen didn't reply, just watched me quietly. His gaze was too perceptive, as if he could see through the defenses I had so carefully constructed. Aren't you going to ask why? I looked up, meeting his eyes. I watched the surveillance video, Ji Chen said softly. The hospital is abuzz with rumors that he actually intended to save both of you that day, but a misjudgment led to a lie. I interrupted him sharply. He didn't hesitate at all when he let go of my hand. The elevator reached the top floor, and the doors slowly opened. Ji Chen reached out and pressed the door open button, but didn't step out immediately. Xia Yan, he called me by my name for the first time. If you need any help, I'm in orthopedics office 307. I stood frozen, watching his tall figure disappear around the corner of the corridor, my heart pounding. In my past life, on my deathbed, he had said the same thing to me. Miss Xia, if you need any help, just press the call button anytime. At that time, I didn't even have the strength to press the button. 6 The meeting with Director Li went very smoothly. Relying on my past life's experience, I had prepared solutions for all the questions the hospital might raise in advance, earning Director Li's repeated praise. Miss Xia, you're so thoughtful for someone so young, he said with a smile, handing me some supplementary materials. This is the promotional material for our new inpatient building. Do you think you can include it? I took the file, only to see a familiar ward name on the cover, orthopedics. Most of the patients here are critically ill, aren't they? I asked casually. Director Lee sighed. Yes, the most troublesome are the patients from the cinema fire. The media harass us daily, and their families are difficult to deal with. The nurses are reluctant to go to that ward. I flipped through the file, feigning calmness. Is it that serious? I heard he had a fiancée who disappeared after the accident. Director Lee lowered his voice. Now he's throwing tantrums every day, saying his fiancé abandoned him because he's disabled. Some reporters are particularly interested and want to do a special feature on a modern chin shimmy. My fingers left deep imprints on the edge of the file. As expected, the Pei family was spinning another tale back at the company. I immediately opened my computer to search for related news. Sure enough, several small media outlets had already started reporting on the story. Fire hero abandoned by fiancé, left to suffer alone in critical condition. With a flood of criticism in the comments section, women these days are so materialistic. I heard that woman even ran off with his life-saving money. This kind of woman should be exposed. I saved these links with a cold laugh. The me of my past life might have panicked, but the me of today was already armed for retaliation. My phone vibrated, a multimedia message from an unknown number. Upon opening it, I saw a photo of Pei lying in a hospital bed, his right leg heavily bandaged, a disfigured scar on half of his face exposed. Below the photo was a line of text. Look at the mess you've made. Tonight at 8 p.m., Metropolis Express will have an exclusive report. You're about to be ruined, Pei Lin. I put down my phone and walked to the window to take a deep breath. The setting sun dyed the entire city blood red, just as red as the blood I had coughed up into the sink in my past life. Xia Yin, the manager is looking for you, my colleague called from the doorway in the manager's office. A middle-aged man in a sharp suit was flipping through my portfolio. Xia Yin, this is Director Chen from Han Yuan Group, the manager introduced. They saw the hospital brochure you designed and would like to invite you to participate in the advertising design for their new development. I looked at Director Chen in surprise. Han Yuan, is that the new development in the east of the city? That's right. Director Chen smiled and handed me his business card. We admire your design philosophy, especially your grasp of spatial sense. I took the business card, secretly delighted. The development in the east of the city was near the residential area I had invested in a few days ago. In my previous life, this project made Han Yuan a fortune. If I could participate, not only would I expand my network, but I would also get the appreciation information firsthand. I'm honored, I smiled. However, I have some personal matters to attend to recently, and I may need a few days to prepare. Director Chen nodded understandingly. We understand. Just provide us with a preliminary proposal by next week. Leaving the manager's office, I immediately sent a message to Yume. Tonight's Metropolis Express will report on Peiji's matter, and I need your help. Yume replied quickly. I was just harassed by reporters too. The stories they made up are too outrageous, saying the three of us are in a love triangle. Do you have time? I want to talk in person. An hour later, Yume and I were sitting on the sofa in her apartment, playing back a recording on her phone. That woman Xia Yan is ungrateful. My brother was crippled saving her, but she's living it up with the compensation money. Pei Lin's shrill voice came from the speaker. Yume pressed pause. She secretly recorded this when she came to see me yesterday. She thought I would side with her and kept badmouthing you. I clenched my fist. What else did she say? She said. Yume hesitated. That if you don't go back to Peiji to take care of him, they'll expose your seduction of a married man scandal to the media, causing you to be socially dead. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Who did I seduce? A doctor surnamed Wang, who claims to be from your previous hospital, Yume said, pulling up a photo on her phone. They have photoshopped chat logs and bed photos. I looked at the blurry composite image on the photo, and my stomach churned. Yume, can you do me a favor? I looked up at her. I need you to be interviewed by a media outlet as a party involved in the fire and tell the truth. Yume bit her lip. Actually, I should have told you earlier. Peiji, he's been stalking me since elementary school. I transferred schools just to avoid him. My eyes widened. I suddenly understood why Peiji was so obsessed with Yume's death in my previous life. It wasn't love at all, but a twisted obsession. So this fire, my voice trembled. He deserved it, Yume said decisively. At 8 p.m., instead of watching Metropolis Express, I went to Ji Chen's office with the prepared materials. My palms were sweating as I knocked on the door. Come in. Ji Chen's voice came from inside, pushing the door open. I saw him frowning at the computer, the screen displaying the page of Metropolis Express. You're here. He quickly closed the web page and gestured for me to sit down. Did something happen? I placed the USB drive on the desk. This contains the complete surveillance footage from the day of the fire, the audio recording of Yume's testimony, and Peiji's disciplinary record from junior high for harassing female students. Ji-chan didn't take the USB drive immediately. Instead, he looked at me intently. What do you want to do? Self-defense. I met his gaze. The Metropolis Express is spreading rumors and slandering me. I need a credible channel to fight back. Ji-chan was silent for a moment, then suddenly took out a document from his drawer and handed it to me. Take a look at this first. I opened the document. It was Peiji's complete medical record. Under the mental state assessment section, it clearly stated, the patient exhibits severe delusional tendencies, insisting that a woman surnamed Xia is his fiancée, but without any supporting evidence. Suspected long-term stalking behavior. The hospital knew he was lying all along. I asked, shocked. Ji-chan nodded. After the psychiatrist's evaluation, they concluded that his obsession with you and Yume had reached a pathological level. However, the family refused to accept this diagnosis and insisted that the hospital cooperate with them to make you take responsibility. I clutched the medical records, suddenly understanding why Ji-chan had contacted me. He had been trying to protect me, just like in my past life. Dr. G. My voice was choked with emotion. Call me Ji-chan, he said, gently pressing my trembling hand. I'll help you contact the hospital's public relations department. These materials are enough to clarify the truth. His hand was warm, reminding me of that snowy night in my past life when his fingertips had felt so warm as he tucked the blanket around me. 7. The next morning, as soon as I walked into the company lobby, I was stopped by the receptionist. Xia Yan, there's a Miss Pei waiting for you in the conference room. She said it's urgent. The receptionist whispered. She seems quite unstable. Perhaps you should avoid her for now. I shook my head and took out my voice recorder from my bag, clipping it to my collar. It's fine, I'll go see her. As I pushed open the conference room door, Pei Lin immediately jumped up from her chair. She was thinner than I remembered from my past life, her cheekbones prominent, her eyes bloodshot, looking like a walking skeleton. Xia Yan, you bitch, she shrieked and lunged at me. I sidestepped to avoid her. Pei Lin, this is a public place, please mind your words, I said calmly. Public place, she sneered, pulling out her phone. Perfect, let everyone see your true colors. She tapped on a video, showing Peiji lying in a hospital bed, crying. Yan Yan, I know I was wrong, can you come back? I shouldn't have rushed to save you, May, but I was really panicked at the time. The doctor said I need an amputation. How can I live without you? The video was clearly edited to portray Peiji as a devoted victim. I watched with a cold gaze, unmoved. You think posting this video will force me to go back? I chuckled. Pei Lin, your brother has been stalking Yume since elementary school. Do you want me to find his classmates to testify? Pei Lin's face instantly turned pale. You're talking nonsense. The report in Metropolis Express has been retracted. Do you know why? I took a step forward. Because the hospital provided your brother's mental evaluation report, proving he has paranoid delusions. You're full of crap, Pei Lin shrieked, grabbing a teacup from the table and throwing it at me. I was prepared and easily dodged it. The teacup shattered against the wall. I'm going to kill you, she screamed, lunging at me with her nails extended towards my face. I grabbed her wrist and twisted it hard. Ah! Pei Lin cried out in pain and fell to her knees. The conference room door was suddenly pushed open, and the manager rushed in with security guards. What's going on? The manager asked. Looking in shock at the mess on the floor, I released Pei Lin and adjusted my collar. Miss Pei lost control of her emotions and attempted to attack me. My collar has a full recording, which can prove I was acting in self-defense. Pei Lin slumped to the ground and suddenly burst into tears. You've all been deceived by her. She crippled my brother, and now she's trying to harm me. The manager gave her a disgusted look and waved to the security guards. Please escort this lady out, and she is not allowed to enter the building from now on. The security guards dragged the crying Pei Lin out. She struggled and turned back to glare at me, her eyes as venomous as if they had been dipped in poison. Xia Yan, you'll die a horrible death. You'll suffer more than my brother. After the conference room returned to silence, the manager looked at me with concern. Xia Yan, are you alright? Do you want to call the police? I shook my head and took off the voice recorder. No need. This is enough to protect me. Back at my desk, I opened my computer and found a new email from Ji-chan in my inbox. The hospital has issued a statement clarifying Peiji's condition and mental state. The contact information of the head of the psychiatry department is attached for further verification if needed. Also, the The Hangyuan project is a good opportunity, seize it, Ji-chen. I stared at the concise words, a warmth spreading through my chest. In my past life, on my deathbed, I had fantasized about whether my life would have been different if I had met someone like Ji-chen earlier. Now fate has given me a second chance, and he has appeared in my life just like this. Like a beam of light shining into the darkness, my phone suddenly vibrated. It was a link sent by Yume. Upon clicking it, I saw a prominent statement on the official website of the municipal hospital. Upon investigation, the claim by patient Pei Ji that he was injured while saving his fiancée is severely inconsistent with the facts. Surveillance footage shows he voluntarily released Ms. Xie's hand. Psychiatric evaluation indicates the patient has a long-term tendency towards delusion. This statement is issued to clarify the truth. Below the link, the netizens' comments had already exploded. Shocking twist, so that Pei Ji was a stalker. Those who previously insulted Ms. Xie, come out and apologize. I closed the webpage and let out a long sigh. The first round of confrontation, I won. But this is just the beginning. The Pei family will not let me off easily as expected. When I got off work, I found several reporters lurking downstairs at the company. I put on my mask and sunglasses and slipped out through the back door. Just as I reached the subway station, my phone rang again, this time from an unknown number. Xia Yan, Pei's mother's chilling voice came through. You think you've won? Let me tell you. My son has had his leg amputated. His life is ruined. If you don't let him have an easy time, I won't let you have one either. Auntie, I said calmly. Your son has been stalking and harassing women for over a decade, and now he's finally reaping what he sowed. If you continue to harass me, I won't hesitate to hand over the evidence to the police. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end of the line, followed by a sharp, cold laugh. We'll see about that. After hanging up, I stood in the bustling subway station, suddenly feeling a wave of exhaustion. The thrill of revenge was fleeting, leaving behind only a deeper emptiness in my past life. I was drained dry by the Pei family. In this life, will I be consumed by hatred? My phone rang again. It was a text from Ji Chen. Mr. Chen, the director at Hangyuan, is my university classmate. Would you like an introduction? Looking at this simple message, I suddenly understood what I truly wanted. It wasn't revenge, but rebirth. 8 on Saturday morning, I stood in front of the Hangyuan Group building, tightening my grip on the design drafts. Ji Chen had arranged for me to meet Director Chen at 10 o'clock and had specifically told me to arrive half an hour early. Xia Yan, I turned around. Ji Chen was walking towards me, dressed in a dark blue casual suit. Sunlight cast dappled shadows on his sharply defined profile. Different from his serious doctor persona at the hospital, he looked young and vibrant today. Have you been waiting long? He asked, tilting his head slightly. A faint scent of cedarwood wafted from him. I shook my head. Just arrived. Thank you for arranging this introduction. You're welcome, Ji Chen said with a slight smile. Chen Hao is my college roommate. He's very reliable. Walking into the lobby of Hangyuan Group, the polished marble floor reflected our images. In my past life, I had never set foot in such a place. Back then, apart from the hospital and the Pei family, I had almost no personal space. Ji Chen, a tall man, emerged from the elevator, clapping Ji Chen enthusiastically on the shoulder. Long time no see, Chen Hao. Ji Chen introduced us with a smile. This is Xia Yan, the designer I mentioned to you. Xia Yan, this is Chen Hao, the marketing director of Hangyuan Group. Chen Hao sized me up for a moment, then suddenly his expression shifted to one of realization. Oh, so you're the one who, let's go up and talk. Ji Chen quickly interrupted him, gently nudging me forward in the elevator. Chen Hao surreptitiously glanced at me in the reflective doors, seeming to want to say something but hesitating. I pretended not to notice, focusing instead on the ascending floor numbers. This is it, Chen Hao said, leading us into a spacious conference room with a panoramic view of the city outside. The floor-to-ceiling windows. To be honest, I was hesitant when Ji Chen recommended you, but after seeing your portfolio, he handed me a bid document. The advertising design for our new development was originally planned for a foreign company, but your style is a better fit for the project's positioning. I opened the bid document, my heart racing. In my past life, the advertising for this development was ubiquitous, becoming a classic case study in the industry. If I could win this project, my career would be completely different. Thank you for your trust, I said, trying to remain calm. I'm very familiar with the East City area, and some of my ideas might differ from traditional advertising companies. For the next 2 hours, I elaborated on my design proposal in detail, drawing on my memories from my past life. I accurately predicted the target audience's preferences and even suggested several selling points that Chen Hao hadn't considered. That's brilliant, Chen Hao exclaimed, slapping the table. Miss Xia, you're like a fortune teller. Ji Chen smiled from the side, his eyes gleaming with a light I couldn't decipher. After the meeting, Chen Hao decided on the spot to award the project to me, with a budget 30% higher than I had anticipated. We'll sign the contract next Monday, he said, shaking my hand. I look forward to a pleasant collaboration. Stepping out of the Hongyuan building, I couldn't help but let out a cheer and spun around on the spot. Ji Chen leaned against the lamppost, watching me with a smile in his eyes. That happy? This is the biggest opportunity of my rebirth. No, my career. I quickly corrected myself, only to see Ji Chen's gaze sharpen. Rebirth, he repeated softly. My heart skipped a beat, and I hastily explained, I mean, this project can give my career a new lease on life. Ji Chen didn't press further, merely handing me a cup of coffee. To celebrate, we sat on a long bench in the plaza, the early autumn sun warm but not scorching. Ji Chen suddenly spoke. Has the Pei family been bothering you recently? I stirred my coffee. Pei Lin came to the company and made a scene once, and then they've been quiet, but, I hesitated for a moment. Pei Ji's mother called yesterday and threatened to ruin my reputation. Ji Chen's brows furrowed. Do you need me to help you apply for a restraining order? Not yet. I shook my head. They're at a disadvantage in public opinion right now, so they can't stir up much trouble. Don't underestimate human malice. Ji Chen's voice deepened, especially when they're pushed to the brink. I turned my head to look at him. You seem to know a lot about this kind of thing. Ji Chen's gaze drifted into the distance. I've seen too many life and death feuds in the hospital. Some people, even if they can't live themselves, want to drag others down to hell with them. His words sent a shiver down my spine. Wasn't Pei Ji's family like that in my past life? They drained me dry and then squeezed out my last bit of value. Ji Chen, I asked, gathering my courage to voice the question that had been bothering me. Why are you helping me? The sunlight cast fine shadows on his eyelashes, and he remained silent for a long time before speaking. Because, you resemble someone. Who? A patient I couldn't save. His voice was so soft it was barely audible. She was like you, hurt by the person closest to her, yet she always treated them with kindness. My heart clenched violently. Was he talking about me in my past life? What happened then? I asked softly. She died. Ji Chen tightened his grip on the coffee cup. Her last words before she died were, if there is a next life, I will never be soft-hearted again. I bit my lower lip hard, afraid I would burst into tears on the spot. Those were indeed the words I had said to Ji Chen before my death in my past life, and by then, he was my only confidant. So, you're helping me out of guilt. I tried to control my voice so it wouldn't tremble. Ji Chen turned to look at me, his eyes as deep as the sea. Because I hope I hope you can have a different ending. Our eyes met, and a strange understanding flowed through the air. The phone's ring abruptly interrupted the moment. It was my mother, Yen Yen. My mother's voice was choked with tears. A woman claiming to be Pei Ji's mother came to our house causing a scene, saying you crippled her son and demanding you take full responsibility. Your father's blood pressure has shot up from anger. I stood up abruptly. Mom, don't open the door. I'll be right back. What's wrong? Ji Chen asked. Alert. Pei Ji's mother is causing trouble at my parents' house, I said, quickly gathering my things. I need to go back immediately. I'll take you. Ji Chen stood up without hesitation. You're not in a state to drive. I didn't refuse. At this moment, I desperately needed someone as steady as Ji Chen by my side. Ji Chen's car was a low-key black SUV with a simple, clean interior that carried a faint scent of medicine. I fastened my seatbelt and sent a reassuring text to my parents. The address. Ji Chen started the car. Jinsho Garden, in the west of the city. I bit my fingernails. My parents moved there after they retired. It's usually very quiet. I didn't expect. Ji Chen reached out and gently pressed my clenched fist. Don't worry, we'll sort it out. His palm was warm and dry, strangely calming my racing heart. In my past life, apart from the care by my bedside, we never had this kind of physical contact. The car merged onto the main road, and the scenery outside blurred past. I stared at Ji Chen's well-defined fingers and suddenly asked, do you believe in past and present lives? His fingers tightened slightly. Why do you ask? It's just, I feel like some things are familiar, like déjà vu, I said vaguely. For example, when I first met you, I felt a strange sense of familiarity. Ji Chen was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, is there a circular fountain in Jinsho Garden, on the third floor of the building directly opposite the main entrance, with pothos plants covering the balcony? I looked at him in shock. How did you know? That's my home. Just a guess. A slight smile played on his lips. Doctors tend to have keen observation skills. This explanation clearly didn't hold water, but I didn't press further. Some secrets, perhaps, needed the right time to be revealed. An hour later, the car drove into Jinsho Garden. From a distance, I saw a crowd gathered at the entrance of the building, and a familiar figure was shouting angrily, "It's that bitch who crippled my son. Now she's hiding and afraid to show her face." Pei's mother, with disheveled hair, waved a photograph in her hand. "Look, this is her wedding photo with my son. Now that the man is crippled, she's abandoned him. It's unbearable." I pushed the car door open and rushed over. "Shut up, I was never married to your son." The crowd instantly fell silent, all eyes turning to me. Pei's mother turned, a flicker of triumph in her cloudy eyes. "Finally decided to show yourself." She waved the photo. "The evidence is right here. Do you still want to deny it?" I walked closer and almost laughed in anger. It wasn't a wedding photo at all, but a photoshopped composite, using a picture from my college days. "Auntie, forging photos is illegal," I said calmly. "Do you want me to call the police now?" "Call them." Pei's mother plopped onto the ground like a spoiled child. "Let the police see what an ungrateful bitch you are. My son saved you." "Enough," a stern voice interrupted her. Ji-chen walked to my side and showed his ID. "I am Ji-chen, an orthopedic doctor at the municipal hospital and one of Pei Ji's attending physicians. According to hospital surveillance and psychiatric evaluations, Pei Ji's claim of saving someone is purely delusional. If you continue to harass Ms. Xia, we will release the complete medical records." The crowd began to whisper, and a few neighbors cast sympathetic glances my way. Pei's mother's face turned ashen, and she suddenly pulled a stack of papers from her bag and threw them into the air. "Look, this is Xia Yan's true face. She seduced doctors in the hospital and had an abortion." Papers fluttered down. I picked one up, and it was a poorly photoshopped chat log and a hospital checkup form. "This is outrageous." Aunt Wang stood up from the crowd. I watched Yan Yan grow up. "How could she do such a thing? You crazy woman, get out now, or we'll call the police." Other neighbors chimed in, and some had already taken out their phones to record. Seeing the situation turning against her, Pei's mother glared at me fiercely. "Xia Yan, this is not over. My son is crippled, and you won't have an easy time either." With that, she pushed through the crowd and stumbled away. I let out a long sigh of relief, my legs feeling weak and almost unable to stand. Ji-chen steadily supported my shoulder. "It's okay now." Back home, my father sat on the sofa with a dark expression, and my mother was wiping away tears. Seeing me enter, my father suddenly stood up. "Is that crazy woman telling the truth? Do you really know her son?" "Dad, please sit down first." I helped him sit and briefly explained the fire and Pei Ji's situation, omitting the part about rebirth. Preposterous. My father slammed the table and stood up. "I'm going to settle the score with them right now, Uncle." "Calm down," Ji-chen said. "The most important thing now is to collect evidence and resolve this through legal channels." My father then noticed Ji-chen. "And who is this?" "My friend, Dr. Ji-chen," I introduced. "He's the one who helped me expose Pei Ji's lies." My mother wiped her tears and looked Ji-chen up and down. "A doctor. Thank you for helping our Yan Yan." For the next half hour, Ji-chen explained Pei Ji's mental state and the hospital's stance from a professional perspective to my parents, successfully calming them down. Watching him converse with my parents with such composure and confidence, a warm current flowed through my heart. "Yan Yan, why don't we ask Dr. Ji to stay for dinner?" my mother suddenly said. "I'll go buy some groceries." I looked at Ji-chen, and he smiled and nodded. "Then we'll be imposing." After my mother happily left, my father also used the excuse of going to the study to get something, leaving only me and Ji-chen in the living room. "Thank you," I said softly. "Without you, I really don't know how I would have handled it." Ji-chen looked in the direction my parents had left, his eyes soft. "You have a very happy family." "Yes," I said with a wry smile. "Unfortunately, in my past life, just last month, I almost sold this house for the Pei family." Ji-chen suddenly turned to me, his gaze intense. "Xia Yan, do you believe in fate?" My heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean, if?" If, he chose his words carefully. Someone knew in advance what would happen in the future. Could they change the outcome? I clenched my fists, my fingernails digging deeply into my palms. Was he hinting at something? "That depends on how determined the person is," I said, looking him straight in the eye. "Sometimes, changing one's destiny requires a complete severance from the past." Ji-chen looked at me deeply, as if trying to see into my soul. At this delicate moment, my father returned with a photo album. Breaking the atmosphere, Dr. Gee, come and see some photos of Yen Yen when she was little. After dinner, Ji-Chen politely declined my parents' invitation to stay the night. I walked him downstairs. The night breeze was cool, dispelling the day's heat. Do you need me to accompany you to sign the contract on Monday? He asked. Standing by his car, I shook my head. No, I can handle it. Then contact me anytime if you need anything. He handed me a business card, which, besides the hospital's contact information, also had a private number. I took the card, and my fingertip accidentally brushed against his hand. A jolt, like an electric current, made me quickly pull my hand back. Good night, Xia Yan. Ji-Chen's voice was exceptionally gentle in the night. Sweet dreams. Watching him drive away, I took out my phone and found the last photo I took before my death in my previous life. A small white freesia that Ji-Chen had placed in a vase by my hospital window. Back then, I didn't even have the strength to say thank you, and now, he has walked into my life just like this, bringing the warmth and protection I longed for but could never obtain in my past life. 10 On Monday morning, I had just arrived at the office when my manager called me into his office. Xia Yan, look at this. The manager's expression was grave as he slid a tablet across the desk. On the screen was a trending post, doxing the modern Shin Shimi, the heartless woman who abandoned her disabled fiancé. The post prominently featured my photo, workplace, and even my home address, accompanied by various fabricated dirt, claiming I had 3 abortions in college, seduced my boss after starting work, and swindled Pei Ji out of his life-saving money, among other things. The most vicious part was that they photoshopped me into bed with different men. It's all lies. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I know, the manager sighed, but people have already started doxing you. The company reception has received several harassing calls. I scrolled through the comments section. The foul language was unbearable to read. A woman like this deserves to die. We have her address. Let's go confront her. I suggest exposing her parents' information too. A chill shot up my spine from the soles of my feet. The company suggests you work from home for a while, the manager said. We'll wait for this to blow over. I nodded numbly, packed my things, and prepared to leave. As I walked out of the company's main entrance, several unfamiliar men and women suddenly surrounded me. That's her. A girl with dyed blonde hair pointed at me and screamed, the bitch who abandoned her husband and child. Someone raised their phone and started filming me frantically, while another person threw an egg at me. I hurriedly covered my face, the egg hit my arm, and the sticky liquid dripped down my sleeve. What are you doing? A security guard rushed out to disperse the crowd, and I seized the chance to run towards the subway station. Inside the train car, people around me pointed and whispered, some even deliberately moved their seats farther away. I huddled in the corner, tears welling up in my eyes but stubbornly refusing to fall. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Ji-Chen. I saw the posts online. Are you okay? With trembling fingers, I replied, I was asked to leave the company, and I was just attacked by a mob. His reply came almost instantly, find a safe place to stay. I'll be right there, don't go home, they might be waiting near your place. I sat down in a coffee shop near the subway station and ordered a hot chocolate to warm my hands. The server noticed the egg stains on my sleeve and thoughtfully brought over a wet wipe. Thank you. I managed to force a smile. Half an hour later, Ji-Chen hurriedly pushed the door open. He was in casual clothes, wearing a mask and a baseball cap, but I recognized those calm eyes at a glance. It's okay now. He sat across from me and gently held my cold hand. I've already contacted a lawyer friend. They'll send a legal notice to the website demanding the post be taken down. I shook my head. It's no use. Even if this post is deleted, another one will just pop up. Then we'll sue. Ji-Chen's voice was firm and resolute. Defamation, invasion of privacy, compensation for emotional distress. Not a single one will be left out. I looked up at him and suddenly noticed heavy dark circles under his eyes. You didn't sleep last night. I'm organizing the evidence. He took a folder out of his bag. This is the original copy of Pei Ji's psychiatric evaluation report, along with the unedited version of the hospital surveillance footage. It's enough to prove that all their accusations are lies. I opened the file. Every page was carefully annotated with key points, and even explanations of legal provisions were attached. This level of care made my nose tingle with emotion. Ji-Chen, why are you so good to me? I asked softly. He was silent for a moment, then suddenly removed his mask, revealing a tired yet gentle smile. Because I know what it feels like to be misunderstood by the whole world. Those words were like a key, suddenly unlocking a corner deep in my memory. In my previous life, during my hospital stay, I had overheard the nurses discussing Ji-Chen. When he was younger, He had also been involved in a medical dispute and was subjected to online harassment by the patient's family for half a year. That medical incident, I ventured to ask. It wasn't an incident, G. Chen's eyes darkened. The patient died by suicide. The family falsely accused me of medication error to claim compensation. The truth came out in the end, but the damage was already done. I tightly held his hand and suddenly understood the wonderful resonance between us, both victims, both having experienced the despair of being judged by public opinion. Don't go back today, Ji-Chen said. I have an apartment near the hospital. You can stay there for a few days. I wanted to refuse, but thinking of the mobs that might be waiting at my doorstep, I nodded instead. Ji-Chen's apartment was unexpectedly cozy, with wooden furniture, walls lined with books, and a few potted plants on the balcony. The most striking feature was an ink wash painting hanging on the living room wall, a proud plum blossom braving the snow. Did you paint this? I asked curiously. He replied, pouring me a cup of hot water. I paint when I'm stressed. Standing before the painting, I suddenly noticed the inscription in the corner. Without enduring the bone-chilling cold, how can one appreciate the plum blossom's fragrance? Is this your life motto? Ji-Chen stood behind me, his breath gently brushing against my hair. It's what I realized after surviving that storm. When I turned around, we were so close I could count his eyelashes. The faint scent of medicine clinging to him lingered at the tip of my nose, reminding me of that glimpse of collarbone peeking from the neckline of his white coat as he bent to examine me in the hospital room of my past life. Are you hungry? He took a step back, breaking the delicate atmosphere. I'll order takeout. After dinner, Ji-Chen insisted I take the master bedroom, while he set up a makeshift bed in the study. Lying in this unfamiliar yet comforting environment, I flipped through a medical journal he had left on the nightstand. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was a message from Yume. Saw what happened online. Do you need me to testify? I replied, not for now. Dr. G is helping me handle it. Ji-Chen. Yume's reply carried a hint of gossip. Since when did you two get so close? I didn't answer, because another message popped in, from an unknown number. Did you like my gift? This is just the beginning. Pei Lin. Next came a photo of the house number at my parents' home, with a large red X painted on it. I immediately took a screenshot and called Ji-Chen, even though he was just in the study next door. What's wrong? His voice came through the door and simultaneously over the phone. Pei Lin is threatening my parents, I said, trying to keep my voice from trembling. She sent a photo of their house number with a mark on it. The study door was pushed open abruptly, and Ji-Chen strode in, still carrying the dampness from his shower. He glanced at my phone screen, and his face instantly darkened. Call the police, he said firmly. We can't let this slide this time. After the police arrived, they took a statement. But since there was no actual physical harm, it could only be considered intimidation. They promised to increase patrols. After seeing the police off, Ji-Chen sat on the sofa, his brow furrowed. They won't stop, he said, rubbing his temples. Pei Ji's amputation surgery is scheduled for the day after tomorrow. After that, they might become even more reckless. I curled up at the other end of the sofa, hugging my knees. Why do they hate me so much? I clearly haven't done anything. Because you're alive, Ji-Chen suddenly said, to them. Your very existence is the original sin. I looked up at him. His words struck my chaotic thoughts like a bolt of lightning. Yes, in my past life, they tortured me to death, yet they felt no remorse. To them, I was never a person, just a scapegoat for them to vent their frustrations on. I won't back down anymore, I heard myself say. This time, I'll make them pay. Ji-Chen gazed at me, his expression complex. Revenge won't truly set you free. Then what will? I retorted. Live, he whispered. Live well. Live in a way they would despise most, happy, free, and beyond their control. Late at night, I tossed and turned in bed. Ji-Chen's words echoed in my mind. In my past life, I was consumed by hatred and guilt. Must I repeat the same mistakes in this life? Outside the window, a bright moon hung high in the sky. I remembered the night of my death in my previous life. It was a moonlit night just like this. Ji-Chen sat by my sickbed and read me a poem. The world has kissed my soul with its pain, asking for its return in songs. I didn't understand it then, but now perhaps I do. Rebirth is not for revenge, but for transcendence. 11 at 3 in the morning, I was still awake, staring at the ceiling. The soundproofing in Ji-Chen's apartment was excellent. Only the occasional hum of the refrigerator broke the silence. My phone screen lit up with a message from my mother. Yin Yin, are you okay? Those people haven't found you, have they? Just as I was about to reply, faint footsteps sounded outside the door. It seemed Ji-Chen couldn't sleep either. I gently opened the door and saw a sliver of light seeping from under the study door. After hesitating for a moment, I knocked. "Come in." Ji-Chen's voice was a bit hoarse, pushing the door open. I saw him sitting on the makeshift bed, with several medical records spread out in front of him. The desk lamp cast a golden edge along the contour of his profile, and his eyelashes cast fine shadows under his eyes. "Can't sleep." He looked up at me, his eyes clear and alert, unlike someone who had just woken up in the middle of the night. I nodded and sat down in the chair opposite him. "I was thinking about the Pei family matter." Ji-Chen closed the medical records and handed me a glass of warm water. "They won't be able to cause much trouble anymore." This morning, the hospital held a press conference and announced the results of Pei Ji's psychiatric evaluation. So quickly, I was somewhat surprised. The hospital director has wanted to do this for a long time. Ji-Chen rubbed his temples. During his hospitalization, Pei Ji repeatedly harassed the nurses, and his family spread rumors everywhere about improper hospital treatment. He's scheduled for an amputation surgery tomorrow. After the surgery, he might become even more erratic. I let out a cold laugh. Let him go crazy. In this life, I won't be at anyone's mercy anymore. Revenge won't set you free, Ji-Chen said softly. I've seen too many people consumed by hatred. Then what do you suggest I do? I looked up at him. Forgive them. No, Ji-Chen shook his head. I just hope you don't become like them. The best revenge is to live a better life than they do. 12 at 10 in the morning. I arrived at Han Yuan Group wearing a mask and a baseball cap. Chen Hao personally came downstairs to meet me. Seeing my outfit, he patted my shoulder understandingly. I saw what happened online. He said quietly in the elevator, "Don't worry, Han Yuan isn't the kind of company that believes every rumor it hears." I nodded gratefully. In my previous life, my cooperation with Han Yuan was limited to hospital brochures. I never expected that in this life, I would be involved in their core project. The signing process went smoothly. When Shen Hao pushed the contract in front of me, he suddenly lowered his voice. "Actually, choosing you wasn't just because of Ji-Chen's recommendation." I looked up, puzzled. "At last week's proposal meeting, the selling point you mentioned," he looked at me meaningfully, "happened to be plans we had discussed internally but never made public, like the subway extension and the layout of the commercial complex." My heart skipped a beat. Those predictions came from memories of my past life. I never expected they would arouse Chen Hao's suspicion. "It was just market analysis," I said, forcing calm. Chen Hao smiled and didn't press further. After signing, he handed me an access card. "Starting tomorrow, you can come work with the project team on the 18th floor anytime. Security there is strict. No one can harass you." Walking out of Hangyuan Tower, I let out a long sigh of relief. My phone vibrated, a message from Ji-Chen. "Did the signing go well?" "Very well," I replied. "Chen Hao seems quite interested in my future predicting ability." Ji-Chen replied quickly. "He's always been sharp. I'll pick you up tonight. There's a place I want to take you." At 6 in the evening, Ji-Chen's car pulled up right on time at the back door of Hangyuan Tower. I slipped into the passenger seat and noticed he had changed into casual clothes, his hair still slightly damp, as if he had just showered. "Where are we going?" I asked curiously. "A special place," he said with a mysterious smile, handing me a paper bag, a disguise prop. Inside the paper bag were a brown wig and a pair of black-framed glasses. After putting them on, I looked in the rearview mirror and barely recognized myself. "What's this for?" "To avoid being recognized." Ji-Chen started the car. "Pei Ji is having surgery today, so his family might be too preoccupied to cause trouble for you, but it's better to be cautious." The car headed toward the outskirts of the city and eventually stopped at the foot of a small hill. Ji-Chen took a picnic basket and a blanket from the trunk and led me up the stone steps. "This is..." I looked around, feeling a sense of familiarity. "The Star Observatory," Ji-Chen said. "In your past life." "No, Lin Yuan once said she wanted to come here to see the stars." My heart trembled violently. Indeed, during my hospitalization in my past life, I had mentioned in passing that I wanted to see the city's famous star observatory, but due to my worsening condition, I never made it in the end. The mountaintop was empty. Ji-Chen spread out a blanket and took sandwiches and hot tea from a basket. As the sun set, the entire city below us gradually lit up with lights. "How did you?" My voice choked up. "Remember it so clearly." Ji-Chen gazed into the distance, his profile exceptionally soft in the twilight. "Some memories, even after a lifetime, are never forgotten." We sat side by side, sharing a simple dinner. Night fell, and stars gradually appeared one by one, with the Milky Way stretching across the sky. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Ji-Chen asked softly. I nodded. tears slipping uncontrollably down my face, in my final moments of my previous life. How I had longed to see the starry sky one last time, yet I was trapped in a hospital room filled with the smell of disinfectant, and now, the starry sky was right before my eyes, and beside me was someone who remembered the wish from my past life, Ji-chen. I turned to him. Thank you for bringing me here, under the moonlight. His eyes seemed to hold a galaxy of stars. Our gazes met, and a strange electric current seemed to flow through the air between us. Xia Yan, he called my name softly. In this life, what is your wish? I thought for a moment, then said. Seriously, first, to completely break free from the shadow of the Pei family, and then, I paused, to live well, and do the things I want to do, such as designing a house of my own, getting a cat, and coming to see the stars once a week. I said with a smile, a simple life. Ji-chen suddenly took my hand. Can I be added to your wish list? My heart skipped a beat. His palm was warm and dry, tightly enveloping my hand, as if making a silent promise. You already are, I said. Softly, the night breeze was cool. Ji-chen took off his coat and draped it over my shoulders. We looked up at the starry sky, neither of us speaking, but the silence held more power than any words. On the way down the mountain, Ji-chen's phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen, and his expression changed drastically. It's the hospital. During the call, I only heard Ji-chen's brief responses. Got it, I'll be right back. After hanging up, his expression was unusually grave. What's wrong? I asked nervously. Peiji's surgery is over. But, he took a deep breath. His mother has taken a group of people to your parents' house to cause trouble. I immediately took out my phone and dialed my home number, but no one answered. I then called my father's mobile. It rang for a long time before being picked up. Dad, are you guys okay? I asked anxiously. From the other end of the phone came a noisy background sound. My father's voice intermittent. We're fine, don't come back. Then came a burst of chaotic noise, and the call suddenly ended. I was trembling all over, barely able to hold on to my phone. Ji-chen, take me home, now. 13. Ji-chen's car sped through the night. I kept calling my parents' phones, but no one answered anymore. Don't worry, I've already contacted colleagues nearby to check. Ji-chen held the steering wheel with one hand and pressed down on my trembling hand with the other. 20 minutes later, the car turned into Jinsho Garden. From afar, I could see 2 police cars parked downstairs at my house, their red and blue lights glaringly conspicuous in the night. Dad, Mom, I rushed out before the car even came to a complete stop. A crowd had gathered at the entrance to the building unit. I pushed through the people and saw my mother sitting on the steps, her face pale. My father was lying on a stretcher, with medical personnel examining him. Mom, I threw myself down beside her. What happened? When she saw me, tears welled up in her eyes. Those people, they smashed the door. Your dad got so angry he had a heart attack. I looked around. Several police officers were questioning the neighbors. Auntie Wang saw me and immediately came over. Yan, you're finally back. That crazy woman brought over a dozen people to smash your door. Your dad was arguing with them when he suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. I knelt beside my father and took his hand. He opened his eyes weakly and managed a faint smile. Dad's okay, don't worry, your uncle needs to go to the hospital immediately, said a doctor in a white coat. I looked up and recognized him as a colleague of Ji-chen's. Dr. Lee, thank you for your trouble, Ji-chen said as he walked over, quickly assessing my father's condition. Acute myocardial ischemia. He needs a coronary angiography as soon as possible. The ambulance arrived with its lights flashing, and the medical staff lifted my father onto the vehicle. My mother followed them into the ambulance. Just as I was about to get on, someone suddenly grabbed my hair from behind. You bitch, you finally showed up. Mother Pei's twisted face appeared before me, with 7 or 8 burly men standing behind her. I cried out in pain. Before I could react, Ji-chen had already pushed Mother Pei aside and shielded me behind him. What are you doing? He shouted sternly. Mother Pei staggered a few steps, steadied herself, and then pointed at my nose, cursing loudly. It's this bitch who caused my son to become disabled, and now she's made his surgery go wrong. I want her to pay with her life. Your son's surgery complications are due to a post-operative infection. Ji-chen's voice was icy. It has nothing to do with Xia Yan. If you harass her again, I will publicly disclose his true medical condition as his doctor. How dare you? Mother Pei shrieked. My son is a hero. He got injured saving this bitch. Surveillance footage has already proven he was lying. Ji-chen stood his ground, and the hospital has evidence of him harassing the nurses. Do you need me to make it public? The neighbors around us began pointing and whispering. with some even taking out their phones to record. Seeing the situation turning sour, Mother Pei glared at me viciously. Xia Yan, this isn't over. If anything happens to my son, I'll make your whole family pay. After saying that, she left with her group in a huff. My legs went weak, and I could barely stand. Jichin quickly supported me. Let's go to the hospital first. Leave this to the police. On the way to the hospital, I curled up in the passenger seat, trembling all over. Jichin held the steering wheel with one hand and tightly grasped my hand with the other. They will pay for this, I said through gritted teeth. In this lifetime, I will make sure they pay in blood. Jichin didn't try to calm me down. Instead, he squeezed my hand even tighter. First, let's make sure your father is safe. As for the rest, we'll figure it out together. In the hospital emergency room, my father had stabilized. My mother sat by the bed, wiping away tears. When she saw me come in, she immediately stood up and hugged me. Yan Yan, are you okay? Did those people hurt you? I shook my head, heartbroken as I wiped away my mother's tears. Mom, I'm sorry. It's all my fault for dragging you into this. Silly child, how could this be your fault? My mother stroked my face. We don't believe a single word that crazy woman said. After speaking with the attending physician, Jichin walked over. Uncle needs to stay in the hospital for observation for a few days, but it's not serious. I've already arranged for a private room. I looked at him gratefully. In my past life, my father had also suffered a heart attack because of the Pei family's affairs, but back then I had to face everything alone, unable to even scrape together the hospital fees. By the time my parents were settled, it was already 2 a.m. Jichin took me to the doctor's lounge and handed me a cup of warm milk. Rest for a while, he said softly. I'm on duty tonight. Call me if you need anything. Holding the warm milk, I suddenly remembered something. You said Peiji's surgery didn't go well. Jichin nodded. Post-operative infection. His condition isn't great, but he's young. He should be able to pull through. Pull through, I sneered. That would be letting him off too easily. Xia Yan. Jichin crouched down, meeting my eyes at the same level. Revenge isn't everything in life. Think about your wish list. I turned my face away, not letting him see the hatred in my eyes. Some debts must be paid in blood. Jichin sighed and was about to say something when his phone suddenly rang. After answering, his expression turned strange. What's wrong? I asked. After hanging up, Jichin looked at me with a complicated expression. Yumei is at the hospital. She says she has something important and needs to see you now. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was 2:40 a.m., she says. She has evidence about the truth of the fire. I stood up immediately. Where is she? 10 minutes later, I met Yumei in the small conference room at the hospital. She looked utterly exhausted, her eyes red and swollen as if she had been crying. Sorry to bother you so late. She hesitated when she saw Jichin behind me. This matter might be a bit sensitive. Jichin can be trusted, I said directly. What evidence? Yumei took an old phone from her bag. This is the phone I used in junior high. There are some text messages Peiji sent me inside. I took the phone and scrolled through the messages. The more I read, the colder my heart grew. The texts were filled with a morbid possessiveness and threats, spanning from their junior high days until a month before the fire. He was stalking you. I looked up and asked Yumei. Yumei nodded, her voice trembling. I transferred schools after junior high, but he somehow found my new school. Later, when I went to university and started working, he always managed to appear nearby. I continued scrolling and suddenly stopped at a photo. It was the ticket stub from the movie theater where I had my first encounter with Peiji in my past life, taken the day before the fire. My voice trembled. The day before the fire, he sent me this photo. Yumei bit her lip, saying, tomorrow I will meet my destined love, but you will always be my obsession. My blood ran cold. In my past life, I always thought my encounter with Peiji was a coincidence, a cruel twist of fate, but now, the evidence was right before my eyes. That fire, that rescue, it was all a meticulously designed trap by him, and this too. Yumei clicked on a recording. Peiji's voice came from the phone. As long as I save her, she'll be devoted to me. Women are all like this. The hero saving the damsel is the most effective, even if he's not a real hero. The voice in the recording was full of calculation, a stark contrast to the infatuated man who later accused me of causing Yumei's death. When was this recorded? I asked, barely suppressing my disgust. A week before the fire, Yumei said. He asked to meet me, and I secretly recorded it. At the time, I thought he was just talking. I didn't expect. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deeply into my palms. How foolish I was in my past life to have sacrificed my entire existence for such a demon. Why are you telling me this now? I looked at Yume, she lowered her head. I was scared. His family has a lot of influence, and I worried about retaliation, but seeing those posts attacking you online, my conscience couldn't bear it. Jichin suddenly spoke. This evidence is crucial. It can prove that Peiji had premeditated. I took a deep breath and returned the phone to Yume. Thank you. This is enough for me to sue them for defamation and harassment. Yume shook her head. Keep the phone. I've already backed up the contents. She stood up. Xiaoyan, I'm sorry, if only I had come forward sooner. It's not your fault, I interrupted her. It's the Pei family who should pay the price. After seeing Yume out, I stood by the window, watching the sky gradually lighten in the east. Jichen stood silently behind me, not disturbing my thoughts. Jichen, I called his name softly. You were right. Revenge isn't everything in life. I turned to look at him, but I need closure. He stepped closer and gently embraced me. I understand, it's just, don't let hatred consume you. Leaning against his chest, listening to his strong heartbeat, I suddenly felt a peace I had never experienced before. In this life and the last, I was finally no longer fighting alone. Outside the window, the first rays of sunlight pierced through the clouds, illuminating the hospital's white exterior walls. A new day had begun, and my battle was just starting. 14. The morning sun streamed through the blinds into Jichen's office. I sat at the computer, meticulously organizing the evidence provided by Yume, recordings, text messages, photos. These fragments pieced together a chilling truth. This one is the most crucial. Jichen pointed to a text message on the screen. Peiji knew you would be at that cinema the day before the fire. I zoomed in on the blurry photo, a surveillance screenshot from the cinema's ticket booth. In the frame, I was buying a ticket, and in the corner, a man in a hat was secretly filming. That was Peiji. He was tracking me. My voice trembled. That chance encounter in my past life was nothing but a trap he meticulously designed. Jichen gently placed his hand on my shoulder. Now we have evidence. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Chen Hao. This afternoon at 3 p.m., the TV show Truth wants to interview you about the cyberbullying incident. He's a reliable friend. Don't worry. I handed my phone to Jichen to see. Should we go? The Truth program has a good reputation. Jichen nodded, but be prepared, the Pei family might resort to desperate measures. I opened the document and listed the key evidence to be disclosed. 1. Peiji's long-term tracking evidence of Yume, text messages, photos. 2. Photos of me taken before the fire. 3. Peiji's recording about the Hero Saves the Beauty plan. 4. Hospital psychiatric evaluation report. 5. Recordings and photos of the Pei family threatening me. And this. Jichen took out a document from the drawer. Peiji experienced severe hallucinations after the surgery, constantly calling your name. The psychiatrist believes he has severe paranoid personality disorder. I flipped through the document and suddenly stopped at a page of nursing records. The patient claims Miss Xia is his destined person and must return to him. This is terrifying. What's more terrifying is this. Jichen turned to the last page. The nurse found him writing your name all over his medical records in the middle of the night, and drawing some bizarre symbols. The paper in the photo is densely covered with Xiaoyan, surrounded by chains and heart patterns, looking both pathological and terrifying. He never loved anyone. I closed the file. Whether it was Yume or me, we were just objects of his pathological obsession. Jichen's phone suddenly rang. He glanced at the screen. It's the nurse's station calling. I need to do my rounds. Can you manage alone? No problem. I forced a smile. I still need to contact a lawyer and prepare the lawsuit materials. After Jichen left, I called lawyer Chen. After hearing my summary of the evidence, she excitedly said, "This is enough to sue for defamation, harassment, and emotional distress damages. I'll prepare the complaint immediately." After hanging up, I called my parents. My mother answered, her voice tired. Yan, your dad is much better. The doctor said he can be discharged in 2 more days of observation. Mom, I'm sorry, my nose stung. I've implicated you again. Silly child, don't say that, my mother said softly. The police just came and took a statement. They said they'll increase patrols. Your dad is still clamoring to be discharged and settle accounts with the Pei family. I stopped crying and started to smile. My father had always been gentle, and I never expected him to get angry when pushed to his limit. Oh, right, a young woman named you came to visit us at the hospital, my mother suddenly said. She brought a lot of fruit and said she was your friend, Yume. I was a little surprised. What did she say? She said Peiji had been harassing her since middle school, and that we shouldn't believe those rumors. My mother paused. Yan, that girl cried when she left, saying she was sorry to you. I gripped my phone, my heart filled with mixed emotions. In my past life, brainwashed by the Pei family, I had always considered Yume a rival and was even jealous of her perfection. In reality, she, like me, was a victim of Pei Ji's pathological obsession. At noon, Ji-chan returned with 2 bento boxes. We sat at the desk and ate in silence, each lost in our own thoughts. "I'll accompany you to the TV station this afternoon," he said suddenly. I looked up at him. "Don't you have work?" "I swapped shifts," Ji-chan said casually, but I knew it wasn't easy for doctors to swap shifts. After dinner, I started organizing the interview points. Ji-chan sat opposite me, quietly flipping through a medical journal. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a soft outline around him. On my deathbed in my previous life, I had fantasized about whether my life would have been different if I had met someone like him sooner, and now, he was sitting in front of me, accompanying me through the most difficult moments. "What's wrong?" Ji-chan noticed my gaze. "It's nothing." I lowered my head to hide my blushing cheeks. "It's just, I'm very grateful to you." He reached out and gently covered the back of my hand. "You're welcome. In this life, I won't let anyone hurt you again." These words were like a key, unlocking the deepest lock in my heart. Tears welled up uncontrollably, and I quickly turned to wipe them away, only to be gently pulled into his embrace. "Cry." His voice echoed from above. "You've held it in for so long. It's time to let it out." I buried my face in his chest, inhaling the faint scent of disinfectant and his own unique aroma, and let myself cry to my heart's content. In my previous life, during 10 years of marriage, I had shed countless tears in front of the Pei family, but never before had I felt so completely accepted and understood. 15 At 2:30 in the afternoon, Ji-chan and I arrived at the television station. Lin Yu, the host of the program The Truth, personally greeted us. She was in her early 30s, capable and sharp, with piercing eyes. "Ms. Xia, it's a pleasure to meet you." She shook my hand. "I've reviewed the materials you provided, and this case is quite representative." Before the interview began, Lin Yu meticulously inquired about the source and background of each piece of evidence. Her eyes lit up when she heard that Pei Ji might have intentionally staged the fire. "This goes beyond harassment. It could involve intentional harm," Lin Yu stated gravely. "We need to verify this part more cautiously." Ji-chan presented the hospital records. "As Pei Ji's attending physician, I can confirm that he does suffer from severe delusional disorder and has an abnormal obsession with Ms. Xia." At precisely 3 o'clock, the interview officially commenced. Lin Yu's questions were sharp and direct, while I calmly presented the facts and displayed the evidence. When Pei Ji's "Hero Saves the Damsel" recording was played, I noticed the on-site staff showing expressions of shock. "That's terrifying," a female director whispered. "This is simply twisted." Midway through the interview, the studio door was suddenly pushed open. An assistant rushed in, flustered, and whispered a few words into Lin Yu's ear. Lin Yu's expression changed, and she turned to me. "Pei Ji's mother, along with a group of reporters, is blocking the entrance to the television station, claiming she's here to expose your lies." Ji-chan immediately stood up. "Do we need to suspend the interview?" "No." I took a deep breath. "Let them hear the truth." Lin Yu gave me an appreciative look and said to her assistant, "Let them in and arrange for them in the adjacent observation room. Tell them if they dare to interfere with the recording, call security." 10 minutes later, Pei's mother was brought next door. Through the glass, I could see her contorted face and malicious eyes. This only gave me strength. The me who used to be timid in front of her in my past life could finally fight back with dignity. At the end of the interview, Lin Yu asked, "Ms. Xia, after all this, what would you like to say to women who are suffering from cyberbullying?" I looked at the camera and said, word for word, "Don't be silent, don't blame yourselves. It's never you who are wrong, but those who perpetrate the abuse. Gather evidence, speak up bravely, and the law will be on the side of justice." When the recording ended, Lin Yu held my hand and said, "It will air tonight at 9, the effect will be amazing. You are so brave." As I walked out of the studio, I bumped into Pei's mother, who was being stopped by security. Seeing me, she immediately started cursing. "Bitch, you framed my son, those recordings are fake." I looked at her calmly. "Auntie, I'll see you in court." "You." Mother Pei suddenly broke free from the security guard and lunged at me. "I'll rip your mouth apart." Ji-chan quickly stepped in front of me, and the security guard also restrained her in time. Mother Pei struggled and screamed hysterically, "Xia Yan, may you die a terrible death. If anything happens to my son, I will not let you go even as a ghost." Her voice echoed in the corridor, attracting a crowd of onlookers. I looked coldly at the woman who had tormented me for 10 years in my previous life. With no trace of fear left in my heart, "Auntie," I said softly, Your son's current state is all you're doing, spoiling him, indulging him, lying for him. You are the one who harmed him." Mother Pei froze as if struck by lightning. I turned and left, her breakdown and sobs following me outside the TV station. The sun was setting. Ji-Chen suggested a walk by the river to clear our minds. We walked side by side on the riverside promenade, the gentle breeze caressing our faces, carrying away the day's fatigue. After the program airs tonight, public opinion will completely reverse, Ji-Chen said, but the Pei family won't give up easily. "I know," I said, gazing at the shimmering river surface. "They've already threatened my parents." Ji-Chen stopped and turned to me. "Do you need me to bring your aunt and uncle to stay at my apartment for a few days?" "No. I've hired a security company to enhance protection." I looked at him gratefully. "Besides, my dad's stubborn personality means he'd never agree to hide." Ji-Chen chuckled. "Like father, like daughter." I smiled too, suddenly realizing this was the first time since my rebirth that I felt so relaxed. It wasn't because the hatred had dissipated, but because I was no longer fighting alone. "Ji-Chen, you said." I hesitated to speak. "Why do you think we were reborn?" He pondered for a moment and said softly, "Perhaps to make up for regrets. You have your hatred, and I have my powerlessness." A cruise ship slowly passed by on the river, its horn sounding a long, drawn-out note. We stood by the railing, watching the sunset paint the river gold. "Whatever the reason," I said softly, "it's wonderful to have met you." Ji-Chen turned to look at me, the afterglow of the sunset reflected in his eyes. He slowly approached and gently embraced me. I didn't resist, leaning against his chest, listening to his strong heartbeat. In this moment, the pain of my past life seemed to fade away. 16 at 8:50 p.m. Ji-Chen and I returned to his apartment, ready to watch the program The Truth. As soon as the TV was turned on, my phone began to vibrate wildly with notifications from various group chats and social media, everyone discussing the upcoming broadcast. It seems the pre-show buzz is quite effective. Ji-Chen handed me a cup of hot tea. I took the teacup, my fingers accidentally brushing against his, and a warm current instantly spread from my fingertips throughout my body. Ji-Chen seemed to feel it too, his eyes flickering slightly. At precisely 9:00 p.m., the program began. Lin Yu's capable voice came from the television. "Tonight, we will reveal the truth behind a hero." The program was edited brilliantly, with a watertight chain of evidence. When I presented the evidence of Pei Ji tracking Yume, Ji-Chen quietly held my hand, and when Pei Ji's pathological recording was played, his hand visibly tightened. At the end of the program, Lin Yu said sternly, "The internet is not beyond the law, and everyone should be responsible for their words and actions." Tomorrow night at the same time, we will continue to follow up and expose more inside stories. As soon as the program ended, my phone exploded. Yume called first. "Xia Yan, you're amazing. The whole internet is now scolding the Pei family." Then came Chen Hao, colleagues, and even old classmates I hadn't contacted in years, all expressing their support. On social media, the topic #XiaYanTruth quickly trended, with comments overwhelmingly condemning Pei Ji. Chilling. "This is a crime, isn't it?" Those who scolded Xia Yan before should come out and apologize. "It is recommended that the police investigate the truth behind the fire." I turned off my phone and let out a long sigh. The cyberbullying that ruined my reputation in my previous life has finally backfired on the perpetrators themselves in this life. "Look at this." Ji-Chen handed over the tablet. The screen displayed a freshly published news article. "Municipal hospital statement. Pei's mental evaluation results confirmed. Will cooperate with police investigation." The article included a document with the hospital's official seal, confirming that Pei Ji indeed had severe mental health issues and a dangerous obsession with Xia Yan. The hospital is really fast," I said in surprise. Ji-Chen smiled slightly. "The dean couldn't stand the Pei family's drama anymore." As we were talking, the doorbell rang. Ji-Chen looked through the peephole and frowned. "It's Yume." Yume entered with a pale face, clutching a USB drive. "Xia Yan, I just came back from the hospital. Pei Ji's condition has worsened. He's been calling your name." My heart tightened. "How serious is it?" "He has a high fever that won't go down. Doctors suspect it might be sepsis." Yume bit her lip. "His mother has gone mad, saying she wants revenge on you." Ji-Chen immediately took out his phone and dialed a number. "Dr. Lee, it's me. What's the situation with Pei Ji?" I understand." After hanging up, his expression was grave. "The infection has spread to his blood. The situation is indeed not optimistic." "Serves him right," I blurted out, then felt a pang of shame. As a doctor, Jichin surely wouldn't approve of such a thought, but unexpectedly, Jichin didn't blame me. He just calmly said, whatever the outcome, it's a result of his own choices. You may handed me a USB drive. There's something more important in here. When Peiji was delirious with fever, I secretly recorded some things. You might need to hear them. I inserted the USB drive into the computer. Inside was an audio file. When I clicked play, Peiji's weak but frenzied voice came through. The fire. I set the fire. No, it was an accident. But I knew there would be fire. The recording was intermittent, but the content was chilling. Ji-chan and I exchanged a look, seeing the shock in each other's eyes. He might have been involved in the arson. My voice trembled. Yume's death in her past life might not have been an accident at all. Yume's face turned pale. I thought so too. So I looked up the cinema's fire records from that time. She took out a stack of papers from her bag. The cause of the fire was aging circuits. But there's something suspicious. The circuits had just been inspected that morning, and the records showed everything normal. I flipped through the records, a terrifying thought surfacing in my mind. If Peiji knew about the circuit problems in advance, or even tampered with them, should we call the police? Yume asked. Jichin pondered for a moment. It's just speculation at this point, with no direct evidence, but this rambling recording can serve as a clue for the investigation. As we were talking, my phone rang. It was my father's attending physician. MS, Xia, your father just experienced chest pain again. The electrocardiogram shows worsening myocardial ischemia. He needs to undergo coronary angiography immediately. I stood up abruptly. I'll be right there. Jichin grabbed the car keys. I'll drive you. Yume also stood up. Is there anything I can do? Can you contact lawyer Chen for me? I said while putting on my jacket. Tell her new evidence has been found regarding the fire. By the time I arrived at the hospital, my father had already been taken into the catheterization lab. My mother was pacing back and forth in the hallway and her eyes welled up with tears as soon as she saw me. Mom, how did Dad suddenly get worse? I held her cold hand. He was fine this evening. And then suddenly said his chest hurt. My mother's voice trembled. It's all those reporters' fault. They kept bothering him all day, asking what your father thought of the show. I felt immense guilt. I should have known the media would harass my parents. Jichin patted my shoulder reassuringly and went to find the attending physician to understand the situation. An hour later, the doctor came out and told us that my father had a narrowed blood vessel in his heart, had a stent placed, and was in stable condition. He needs rest and cannot be stimulated further. The doctor said sternly. In the ward, my father lay weakly. Seeing me, he managed a faint smile. Dad is fine, don't worry. I held his hand, holding back tears. Dad, I'm sorry. I've implicated you all. Silly child. My father patted my hand. You did the right thing. That kind of scum deserves to be exposed. As we were speaking, a commotion suddenly erupted in the hallway. Then came Pei's mother's sharp voice. Xia Yan, come out here. My son is dying. Are you happy now? Jichin immediately walked out and closed the door. I heard his calm voice. Auntie, this is a hospital. Please keep your voice down. Get lost. You all did this. Pei's mother screamed hysterically. If anything happens to my son, I'll take you all down with me. My father struggled to get up, and I quickly held him down. Dad, don't get agitated. I'll handle it. As I walked out of the ward, I saw Pei's mother being held back by 2 security guards. Still shouting curses. A crowd of patients and their families had gathered in the corridor, and some were even taking out their phones to record. Xia Yan is out, someone shouted. All eyes were on me. When Pei's mother saw me, a malicious glint appeared in her eyes. Bitch, you haven't done enough to harm my son, and now you're here to harm me. I looked at her calmly. Auntie, Peiji chose to go into the fire himself, and his infection worsened because of his own actions. You should ask yourself why you raised him to be such a stubborn person. You. Pei's mother trembled with rage. I'll rip your mouth apart. She suddenly broke free from the security guards and lunged at me. Jichin quickly stepped in front of me, but Pei's mother's nail still scratched his arm. Security, call the police, someone yelled. In the chaos, I suddenly remembered the recording Yume had given me. I took out my phone and turned up the volume to play Peiji's rambling words. The fire. The fire was set by me. I knew there would be a fire. The corridor fell silent. Pei's mother froze, her face turning ashen. This is fake. You forged it. This was recorded today. Can't you recognize your son's voice? I said coldly. If the fire was indeed planned by him, then it's attempted murder. The onlookers gasped, and some immediately started posting on their social media. Pei's mother's face turned ashen, and she suddenly collapsed to the ground, wailing, It's not true. My son isn't like this. The police arrived quickly and took Pei's mother away. Before leaving, she glared at me venomously. "Xia Yan, I'll haunt you even as a ghost." I ignored her and turned to check Ji Chen's wounds. 3 bloody scratches were glaringly visible on his arm. "It's nothing, just a minor injury," he said softly. I found a nurse to disinfect and bandage his wound, feeling both touched and guilty. In my past life, I fought alone, but in this life, someone is finally willing to stand in front of me. After tending to the wound, Ji Chen insisted on driving my parents home and arranging security. In the car on the way back, my mother suddenly said, "Dr. G is a good person." I pretended not to understand her implication. "Yes, he helped me a lot." My mother gave me a meaningful look and said nothing more. After settling my parents and confirming the security system was functioning properly, Ji Chen and I returned to his apartment. It was late, but neither of us felt sleepy. "I'm going to formally sue the Pei family tomorrow," I said, sitting on the sofa, including defamation, harassment, and compensation for emotional distress. Ji Chen nodded and handed me a glass of warm milk. "Do you need me to testify?" "Not for now." I took the milk and accidentally touched his finger. A jolt like an electric current made me almost drop the cup. Ji Chen seemed to feel it too, his eyes flickering slightly. We looked at each other, and it felt as if invisible sparks were flying in the air. "Xia Yan," he whispered my name. My heart pounded, waiting for his next words, but just then, his phone suddenly rang. It was the hospital, an urgent notification about Pei Ji's condition. Ji Chen hung up the phone, his face grave. "Pei Ji has fallen into a coma, and his condition is not optimistic." I was silent for a moment, then asked softly, "Do you think I should go see him?" Ji Chen looked at me deeply. "Do you want to?" I shook my head. "No, but I want to know the truth about the fire." "Then let's wait for the police investigation," Ji Chen said softly. "Whatever the outcome, it shouldn't be something you have to bear." Outside the window, a bright moon hung high. We stood side by the floor-to-ceiling window, each lost in our own thoughts. 17. The morning sun streamed through the gaps in the curtains, and I opened my eyes to find myself lying on the sofa in Ji Chen's apartment, covered with a thin blanket. There was a faint sound from the kitchen, and the aroma of coffee filled the air. Awake, Ji Chen walked over with 2 cups of coffee. "Did you sleep well?" I rubbed my sore neck and took the coffee. "SOSO, any news from the hospital?" Ji Chen's expression turned serious. "At 4 in the morning, Pei Ji's heart stopped. They managed to revive him, but his condition is very grim." The coffee cup trembled slightly in my hand. "In my past life, I was tormented to death by the Pei family. In this life, he is heading towards death before me. I should feel elated, but my heart felt empty, devoid of the revenge satisfaction I had imagined," the doctor said. Ji Chen hesitated. "If his heart stops again, they don't recommend further resuscitation." I put down my coffee cup and walked to the window. The city's morning was bustling with traffic, pedestrians hurrying by, and no one knew the struggle within me at this moment. "Do you think I should go see him?" I asked softly. Ji Chen stood beside me, looking out the window with me. "That's not a question I can answer. If it were you," I turned to look at him. "If you were me, would you go?" Ji Chen pondered for a moment. "I would ask myself 2 questions. Will I regret not going? Will I regret going?" I fell into thought. If I didn't go, I might forever wonder about the answer. If I did go, I might face more pain and entanglement. The phone's ring broke the silence. It was Lawyer Chen. "Ms. Xia, the police would like to speak with you regarding the fire investigation," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. "They found new evidence." Half an hour later, Ji Chen and I arrived at the police station. Officer Li, who was in charge of the case, was a middle-aged man in his 40s with sharp, eagle-like eyes. "Ms. Xia, we've reviewed the surveillance footage from the day of the cinema fire," he said, pushing a laptop forward. "We discovered something suspicious. The screen displayed surveillance footage from 2 hours before the fire. A man wearing a hat and mask was lurking suspiciously near the electrical panel, glancing around from time to time." "Is that Pei Ji?" I squinted. Officer Li nodded. Although his face was covered, his build and gait match. More importantly, he switched to another video. After the fire broke out, he was the only one who ran towards the flames, and his target was clear. I watched the scene on the screen where Pei Ji let go of my hand and rushed towards Yumei, a sharp pain twisting in my stomach. "And this," Officer Li said, producing a document. "We searched Pei Ji's apartment and found a large amount of material on fire escape and psychological manipulation on his computer." I flipped through the document, each page cutting into my heart like a knife. One page of notes starkly read, "Hero saves the damsel, guilt complex, emotional manipulation, absolute obedience." this is simply, my voice trembled, a criminal's handbook. Theoretically, these cannot directly prove he committed arson, Officer Lee said cautiously, but combined with the recording provided by Yume, it at least proves he had premeditated. As I left the police station, my phone received a text message from an unknown number. Peiji is in critical condition and wants to see you one last time. Nurse Xiao Wang. I handed my phone to Jichen to look at. Do you think this is real? Jichen frowned. I'll ask my colleagues. A few minutes later, he hung up the phone, his expression complicated. It's real. Peiji is indeed critically ill again and has been calling your name. I stood on the bustling street. Suddenly feeling dizzy, Jichen steadily supported me. Don't push yourself, I'm going. I took a deep breath, but not for him, for myself. The hospital corridor was quieter than usual, as if even the air had solidified. 2 police officers stood outside Peiji's ward, conversing in low tones. Miss Xia, a young nurse approached. I'm Xiao Wang, the one who texted you. His condition is very serious. I nodded and looked through the ward window. Peiji lay on the hospital bed, covered in tubes. Half of his face was disfigured by horrific burn scars, making him unrecognizable from the arrogant man who tormented me in my previous life. Do you want to go in? The nurse asked softly. I shook my head. Just looking from here is fine. Just then, Peiji suddenly opened his eyes and stared directly out the window. Even through the glass, I could feel the obsession and madness in his gaze. His lips moved, as if he were saying something. He's calling your name, the nurse explained in a low voice. Jichen stood behind me, his hands gently resting on my shoulders, offering silent support. Xia, Yen, Peiji's voice, weak but clear, came through the crack in the door. I'm sorry, forgive me. I trembled all over. In my previous life, over 10 years, he never apologized. Even as I lay dying, he only blamed me for Yume's death. Now, this I'm sorry came so suddenly, and so ironically. Do you want to respond to him? Jichen asked softly. I shook my head and turned to the nurse. Tell him I will never forgive him, but I will also not become the kind of person he is. Stepping out of the hospital, the sunlight stung my eyes. Jichen silently took my hand, and the warmth from his palm made me realize how cold I was. Is it over? He asked softly. No. I took a deep breath. It's just beginning. 18 in the evening, the sky suddenly opened up with a torrential downpour. I stood before the floor-to-ceiling window of Jichen's apartment, watching the rain snake down the glass, mirroring my own complicated emotions. Have some hot tea. Jichen handed me a cup of herbal tea. It's calming. I took the teacup, my fingertip accidentally brushing against his. A warmth instantly spread through my entire body. Jichen didn't immediately pull his hand away. We stood there, our fingers lightly touching, neither of us breaking the delicate silence. The police just called. Jichen finally spoke. Peiji was resuscitated again, but he's in a vegetative state. The chances of him waking up are very slim. I nodded, unsure of what to say. The person I had hated for so long was suddenly on the brink of death, yet the thrill of revenge didn't arrive as expected. Instead, there was an indescribable emptiness. The second episode of The Truth airs tonight. Jichen turned on the TV. Want to watch? I shook my head. I don't want to see that stuff anymore. Jichen turned off the TV and sat beside me. Then let's talk about something else, like your wish list. I forced a smile. Right now, I just want a peaceful life. Specifically, he asked softly, a house, travel, or. I looked up at him and found his gaze unusually gentle, carrying an emotion I couldn't decipher. A small house with a garden, I found myself saying, voicing my deepest desire, with floor-to-ceiling windows, so sunlight fills the living room, and a cat, so I can curl up on the sofa with a book on weekends. That sounds wonderful. Jichen smiled. What do you want to plant in the garden? Roses, perhaps, red ones, I mused, and a lemon tree, so I can make my own lemonade in the summer. Do you want a fireplace in the living room? Yes, so we can gather around it and drink hot cocoa in the winter. As we talked, we became more engrossed. Jichen even found paper and pen, and we started drawing the house of our dreams together. He sketched the architectural outlines, and I added the furniture. We sat shoulder to shoulder, our breaths mingling. Let's put a skylight here. Jichen pointed to the bedroom on the sketch, so we can watch the stars at night. Okay, I nodded, and let's add a bay window, so we can sit there and listen to the rain on rainy days, just like the sound of the rain now. It dawned on me belatedly that we were resting our heads together, close enough to count each other's eyelashes. The faint scent of disinfectant on Jichen, mixed with the dampness of the rainy day, created a comforting aroma. Xia Yan, he suddenly called my name softly. If, He took a deep breath. Someone wanted to be a part of your future. Would you consider it? My heart suddenly pounded faster, and I looked up to meet his earnest gaze. The sound of the rain suddenly grew louder, drumming against the window as if urging something on. That person, is it you? I asked softly. Jichin didn't answer, but gently cupped my face, his thumb caressing my cheek. Is that okay? I nodded slightly, and the next second, his lips met mine. The kiss was gentle and restrained, like a dragonfly touching the water. I like you, Xiayan. Jichin whispered, his forehead against mine, not because of what you've been through, but because of who you are. Raindrops traced winding paths on the glass, and my heart felt as if it were submerged in warm water, all its sharp edges and corners softened by tenderness. I like you too, I heard myself say, but I still have many scars. Jichin gently took my hand and placed it on his chest. Me too, we can heal together. Outside, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, the rain intensifying. We held each other by the floor-to-ceiling window, listening to the rain, sharing each other's warmth. In this moment, the shadows of the past seemed to fade away. Jichin, I whispered, leaning against his chest, do you really not mind my past? He gently lifted my chin, making me look into his eyes. Your past made you who you are today, and who you are today is the person I love. On this rainy night, we talked a lot. From childhood anecdotes to aspirations, from favorite foods to colors we disliked. We were like any ordinary couple, not two lonely souls carrying memories of past lives. As dawn approached, the rain gradually stopped. I curled up on the sofa, my head resting on Jichin's lap, as he gently stroked my hair. Sleep, he said softly, I'll watch over you. I closed my eyes with peace, free from nightmares for the first time. 19 When I woke up the next day, sunlight filled the living room. Jichin was in the kitchen preparing breakfast, his figure in loungewear exuding warmth. Morning, he said, turning back with a smile. Sunny side up or over easy? Over easy. I rubbed my eyes, suddenly realizing I'd fallen asleep on the sofa last night. You didn't sleep? Slept a little, he replied, bringing the breakfast over. You looked so peaceful. I didn't have the heart to wake you. The breakfast was simple, fried eggs, toast, and fruit. But it was warmer than any meal I'd had in the past decade of my previous life. The Pei family never allowed me to eat at the table, always making me rush through my meals in the kitchen. Any plans for today? Jichin asked. I took a bite of toast, to see Lawyer Chen and officially sue the Pei family, then, to visit my parents. I swapped shifts. I'll go with you, Jichin said, naturally brushing a crumb from the corner of my mouth. And I can check on Uncle's recovery while we're there. His fingertips brushed against my lips, sending a subtle shiver through me. We smiled at each other, sweet, unspoken intimacy filling the air. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was a link from Yume. I clicked on it and saw that the second episode of the Truth column had been broadcast, with a shocking title, Hero or Criminal, Unmasking Pei Ji's Conspiracy. In the video, Lin Yu detailed the latest progress of the police investigation, including Pei Ji's suspicious behavior near the circuit breaker and the emotional manipulation notes found on his computer. At the end of the program, Lin Yu said sternly, this is no longer just a moral issue, but a suspected criminal offense. This station will continue to follow the case's progress. The comment section erupted, chilling. This is attempted murder, right? Xiayan is too pitiful to be targeted by someone like this. I suggest a thorough investigation into the truth of the fire. Public opinion completely reversed. Those who had attacked me before deleted their posts and apologized. Some media outlets even began producing special reports titled, From Victim to Warrior, Xiayan's Counterattack. It seems my testimony won't be needed. Jichin scrolled through the news. Public opinion has already swung completely. I turned off my phone and shook my head. Public opinion can change, but legal proceedings cannot be skipped. I want the Pei family to pay for their actions, not through online judgment, but through proper legal channels. Lawyer Chen's office was spacious and bright, with a panoramic city view from the window. She greeted us warmly, a thick stack of documents already laid out on her desk. The evidence is very substantial, Lawyer Chen said confidently. We can sue for defamation, harassment, emotional distress, and we can even consider charging Pei Ji with attempted murder. Attempted murder, I frowned. Are you confident about that? It will be difficult, but we can try. Lawyer Chen adjusted her glasses. More importantly, we can apply to freeze the Pei family's assets to prevent them from transferring property to evade compensation. Jichin added from the side. Pei Ji is currently in a vegetative state, and medical expenses are a bottomless pit. His family might sell off assets. That's exactly what I want. Lawyer Chen smiled. I've already found out that the Pei family owns 3 properties, 2 of which are already mortgaged. As long as the court freezes them, they'll have nowhere to run, leaving the law firm. I felt a strange sense of calm. The flames of revenge still burned, but they no longer scorched me. In this life, I will fight back honorably with the law, not resort to the despicable tactics of the Pei family. The neighborhood where my parents lived was quieter than usual. The security guard at the entrance recognized me and greeted me warmly. Miss Xia, I watched the show yesterday. It was so satisfying. My father was sunbathing on the balcony, looking much better than 2 days ago. Seeing me and Jichen enter together, a flicker of understanding crossed his eyes. Dad, are you feeling better? I stepped forward and took his hand. Much better. My father patted my hand and looked at Jichen. Thanks to Dr. G's timely intervention, my mother brought out some fruit, looking at us with a smile. Yen Yen, you too. My face flushed, but Jichen calmly took my hand. Auntie, I'm pursuing Xia Yen. My parents exchanged a relieved glance. In my past life, they had strongly opposed my marriage to Pei Ji, but were defeated by my guilt and stubbornness. Now, the joy in their eyes warmed my heart. Dr. G is a good man, my father said with a rare smile. 10,000 times better than that Pei whatever. After chatting for a while, Jichen gave my father a brief examination and confirmed he was recovering well. As we were leaving, my mother quietly pulled me into the kitchen. Yen Yen, Mom can see that Dr. G truly cares about you, she whispered. Make sure you don't miss this opportunity. I hugged my mother. I know. This time is different. On the way back, Jichen received a call from the hospital. Pei Ji's mother was causing a scene in the ward, demanding to see both of us. Should we go? He asked for my opinion. I shook my head. There's no need. She just wants someone to vent to. But fate seemed to have other plans. That evening, explosive news trended. Pei's mother attempts suicide by jumping from hospital building. Cries that her son is framed. In the news, Pei's mother stood on the edge of the hospital rooftop, hysterically shouting, "My son is innocent, Xia Yan. That bitch framed him. If my son dies, I won't live either." Firefighters eventually rescued her, but the video had already gone viral online. The comment section was polarized. Some sympathized with her grief over losing her son, while more people accused her of poor parenting. She's desperate. Jichen turned off the TV. Pei Ji's medical expenses are tens of thousands a day. Their family can't hold on for long. I leaned on Jichen's shoulder, a mix of emotions swirling within me. Tired, Ji Chen lightly kissed the top of my head. I closed my eyes. I want to rest now. That night, I slept in Ji Chen's bed, while he, adhering to propriety,